Okay, so I said I was going to talk about atypical Cushing's this morning. Someone asked for it, and that was actually kind of what I did a consult on that I was talking about yesterday. The person from Chicago who was making food for his Cocker Spaniel. So, Cushing's is elevated alkaline phosphatase on the blood work, which is a liver, well, it's a non-specific liver enzyme, but it generally comes from swelling of the liver. The dogs will have a pot belly and muscle weakness as the disease progresses. So the belly will appear enlarged, partly because the liver enlarges, but also because the abdominal muscles get weaker, and so the belly gets saggy. And then they'll have hind end weakness because, again, they have muscle weakness. So for those of you who have been studying your Chinese medicine, what rules muscle? That's the spleen and stomach, which is earth. And so what do we need to strengthen? We need to strengthen digestive function. So, shocking, it all comes back to food yet again. With the atypical Cushing's, their cortisol levels may not be extremely elevated, but when we send our, and this is where you have the testing done becomes critical, because a lot of veterinarians and a lot of records that I see that come in from other veterinary hospitals, they're testing just the cortisol levels, and a lot of times they're doing just an ACTH stim, which is a test where you give cortisol, which is the stimulating hormone that makes the adrenal glands spit out cortisol. If that's the only test you do, you're going to miss this diagnosis a lot of the time. We send ours to the University of Tennessee because they actually send us back, it's just like 8 or 9 hormones, because there are progesterones, estrogens, and testosterones that all are secreted from the adrenal glands, not just cortisol. So with atypical Cushing's, sometimes the cortisol will be normal, but those other hormones will be way out of whack. And we don't want to treat those dogs with trilostane, which is the traditional treatment, because we'll make them crash, which is kind of what happened to this dog out in Chicago. They gave the trilostane supposedly at a low dose, although my dose would have been a lot lower. But the dog crashed, and the dog then had symptoms of Addison's disease, which is not spitting out enough cortisol. So, it's more deadly to have that crash than it is to have those levels be high for a little while. So, they're treated differently. Atypical Cushing's is treated differently from a typical Cushing's, and generally we do it with herbs and more holistic treatments. So flaxseed lignans are used very commonly because they bind up the estrogens. You wouldn't want to have these dogs on a diet that's high in peas because that's providing phytoestrogens, which is more estrogen, and these guys don't need more of that. We use melatonin because that also helps bind some of the hormones. And very commonly we will use Chinese herbs, 2 of my favorites, and it depends on each case as an individual, so don't go running out and buy them because the case has to be looked at. But Simalsan is one of them, Ophiopogon is one of them. We use those very commonly. Romania can be used to help put the fire out. So a lot of different things that we can do. So that's kind of atypical Cushing's in a nutshell. Their symptoms sometimes are not as blatant as atypical Cushing's and can require a little bit more work to actually get that diagnosis. Okay, honey, I got to go to work. So everybody have a wonderful day. Why do diabetic dogs get Cushing's often? Yeah, they do go together a lot of the times. They're endocrine problems. Their endocrine systems are really out of whack. They've got a lot of internal heat. It kind of goes together. I get my Chinese herbs from Jingtang Herbal generally.